God, whatever your will is, I want her to be my wife. I don't trust women. Why? What happened? So Dwayne, I slept with someone else. So confused, bombarded, and shocked. Dwayne, I'm sorry. Like, you betrayed me. That was a mistake you should have never made. Like that, I forgive, but I'm not gonna forget. Yes. I'm gonna be her ass. I'm gonna be his ass. My mind, and it's gonna be all. I do not want to get married. I do not want to have kids. I rather be alone. Hey y'all, it's your boy, the man, the myth, the legend, Dwayne O'Neal Robinson, back at it again with another YouTube video. Listen, if this is your first time clicking onto my channel, I want to welcome you to DOR'S space, where this is the space and a place where I get to express my authenticity through cinematic art. So, for everyone who are new, seasoned to my channel, make sure you guys click on that bell. Therefore, every time when I upload, you get that notification. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and even share with any of your friends or anyone else that you personally feel that may benefit from my videos. And I want to thank you all for your love and your continued support. All right, y'all, without any further ado, you saw the thumbnail, you've read the title. This is not clickbait, okay? So I want to get straight into this topic because it's a lot to unpack, and I want to do it in a timely manner. So I've been seeing across the media, right, wherein you have Andy Bryan, which is the CEO of Astronomer Company, which is an AI tech company worth billions of dollars, along with Christian Cabot, who is the human resources officer or director of that same company, on the huge jumbo screen, right? Hugged up, booed up at a Coldplay concert, and boom, it's the kiss cam, right? And these are two adults that are married, right? And I just want to give some insight and a different perspective on this, as well as share my experience on how I got cheated on. So one thing I want you all to pay attention to is how the media spins things, right? I don't know anything about those people. Everybody's going crazy about it, making memes about it. However, I just want to give a little bit of insight from the male's perspective, right? Now, what is very interesting, we saw Miss Bryant crash out a little bit on TikTok because there's a video out there. She changed her name, all of this stuff, and everybody's focusing on Andy, right? Which is the director. He's the male, he's the husband, right? However, there's not a lot of emphasis on, or Kristen, I should say, that's her name, the wife, right, who cheated on her husband. And you're not hearing anything about her husband at all. He is wired dead silent. You're not hearing anything about him. You're not really hearing anything from his perspective. I haven't heard or seen him speak out, nor his wife speak out, which is a very interesting perspective. But with me doing the little research that I've done, I did discover that he is a CEO of the company known as Private or Rum. So he got a bag too. So it doesn't matter how rich you are. It doesn't matter how poor you are, what race you are. Cheating is cheating, right? And that's just a fact. But what I want to hone in on as a man, right? When a man gets cheated on, usually the media doesn't focus on that. Usually the media focuses on the woman is the victim and the man is the perpetrator 9 times out of 10. And based off of the society that we live in, as men, we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to be seen as demasculine. We don't want to be seen as feminine. We don't want to be seen as emotional. We don't want to be seen, bottom line, bottom dollar, as weak. We don't want our manhood to be challenged or questioned. Now, me being born in the late 1900s, that's the way how I was growing up. That's the way how I grew up. It was the fact of the matter is, you know, you don't want to be called a female dog. You don't want to be called soft. You don't want to be called gay. You don't want to be, you got to defend your manhood. You got to stand up and always make sure that you're stoic. You're not crying, because they're going to turn around and ask you, why are you crying? Only girls cry. Why are you acting like a girl? Look, anytime when it comes to being a man, our masculinity is always being questioned. That's a fact. Now, when we become men, right, what ends up happening is this. Why are you not talking to me? Why are you not expressing yourself? Why are you not crying? Why are you emotional? Or why are you emotionless, I should say? The reason being is we've been classically conditioned to act that way. So overnight, you can anticipate a man to be like, oh, lovey-dovey, romantic, all that type of stuff, when it has, in some cases, been verbally chastised, physically directed, or through corporal punishment in order for him to act masculine in that way, right? So I just wanted to clear the air with that and give a little background and insight on that perspective. Moving right along based off of my experience, right? Growing up, single mother, my perspective on dating was, I'm gonna be the nice guy. I'm gonna treat every girl that I meet with respect, and I'm not gonna dog them out, because if they were my sister, which I don't have any, and if my mom was dating, I want her to meet a good guy, and I want him to be nice. Well, stupid is as stupid does. So that's exactly what I did. And to really be honest, it did not work out in my favor. And let me tell you why. Okay. So I remember being a really, really nice guy. And like I told you, I'm no longer a nice guy, because nice guys do not win. Good guys win. Good men win. Okay. That's who wins, not nice guys. And I'm going to explain to you why. So for me, I was a lover boy. You know, I was a hopeless romantic. I love women. I love them short, tall, slim, thick, long hair, don't care, shortcut, so what? You know, if whatever it is, a black, white, Hispanic, whatever. I just love women. God did a great number when he created women. However, I do have my preference, and my preference are my black Jamaican queens. That is my culture. That's what I was raised. That's what I identify and gravitate more to. That's just my preference. Don't mean that I don't like any other women. They're all beautiful, but based off of my preference, my upbringing, that is what I gravitate to personally, right? So with me dating, whew, boy, here we go. Okay. In my young days, many, many moons ago, I met this young lady, and we're going to call her Monica. Monica and I were pretty cool, pretty cool. And Monica really was ambitious, very smart, very calculated, right? She was not necessarily the type of female that I would go after. But we developed a good friendship, and from that friendship, romance blossomed from it. So, you know, I met her family, she met my family. I observed her, and I remember looking at her one day, and I said, I'm going to make you my wife. You're going to be a great mother. You're going to be a great career woman. I'm going to make you my wife. And she looked at me and was like, boy, you crazy. Because we were young, right? When I said that. And it's kind of crazy because that shows you at a young age, I was always thinking ahead, right? Because for me, marriage is sacred. Uh, having a wife and being a husband, I'm just gonna tell the truth. Like, yo, I'm not baby daddy material. I'm not the side dude material. I'm not a player. I'm very much so monogamous. Like, the playing games don't work for me. It really doesn't, which I'll get to with that. So the fact of the matter is, with Monica, I thought she was very, very special. And there were some things that I saw in her at that time she didn't see in herself. So we dated on and off for some time. And what broke us up was the fact that Barbie, remember from last video, I told you all about Barbie. Remember Barbie? Well, Barbie is actually AKA Alicia. And Alicia, right, and I were really, really good friends as well. To really be honest, I'm older than Alicia by about 4 or 5 years. So Alicia is to me like a little sister. I always looked out for her. She always looked out for me. Like, we kind of had a lot of similarities too because she was raised as an only child as well. So we kind of understood each other very, very well. So there was one particular day, Alicia saw Monica making out with another guy. And Alicia came to me and told me, and I was really, really hurt about it. So I was trying to figure out a way how to have a conversation with Monica about it, but I didn't really know how to, because it's not that I didn't believe Alicia. It's just the fact that I'm like, I gotta be careful, and I want to really get an understanding why Monica would do that. Now, what solidified it is that homeboy that Monica made out with reached out to me and asked me if I was still dating Monica. Now, that is what put the nail in the coffin. So I had to have a conversation with Monica about that, because I was saying, yo, what is going on? And it kind of became this thing. And again, Monica and I were friends first. So it kind of started some friction there. So what ended up happening is we broke it off. We still remain cool and cordial, right? And, Monica moved away, and that was that. So Alicia and I were always cool, like I said. Saw Alicia like my little sister. So now when Monica is out of the picture, Alicia was there, we're talking, and I kind of got this little feeling that I wasn't really expecting. So I said, let me shoot my shot at Alicia, which I felt like weird a little bit, because I'm like, yo, I really did see her as my little sister, and I'm like, is this incest? But we're not related, so I was just like, man, let me shoot my shot and let me see what she says. And literally, Alicia and I had a conversation, and I was just like, yo, Barbie, like, what's up with you? Because at the time, for many, many years, she was in a committed relationship, and I knew that she wasn't in a relationship neither. So I was just like, all right, cool. And I said, yo, what's going on with you? Like, what's going on with you? What's going on with me? Like, what's going on with you? Like, what's going on with us? And, we started talking about it. And I asked her, I was just like, yo, do you want to be my girlfriend? And she was just like, I thought you would never ask. And I was so shocked, because it was like she was waiting for me, but I'm just so oblivious and not paying attention a lot of the time, because I'm so goal and standard oriented. I'm not really paying attention to women around me, or females around me, or feminine energy, or knowing the understanding of the male energy and the level of hypergamy when it comes to women, and the survival of the fittest, all of that. Like, I wasn't really aware of that. I'm just like, yo, listen, if I go to school, get an education, get a bag, I treat a woman right, and I shoot my shot, I go after her, she and I would, ride off in the sunset happily ever after, and we gonna figure this whole thing out and have about 2-3 kids. Like, that's what I really thought, not knowing, hell nah, nigga, that's not how it worked. So anyways, Alicia and I started dating, right? And one thing I admired about Alicia is that she had a very, very strong relationship with God. She honored her father. Like, when I tell you, she honored her father to the highest degree. She really, really loved her father. And the only thing that I noticed that was a little bit like, is that the relationship between her and her mother was very tumultuous at times. And there were times that I really had to, be there for her and help her through that butting of the heads and be like, yo, you got to see it from your mom's perspective too. However, Alicia and I broke up because her father didn't necessarily agree with my religious beliefs. And he felt as if, from my understanding, like that would like infiltrate his daughter, and that's not what he placed in her. So I said, yo, out of respect for you and out of respect for your father, I'm just gonna break it off. Like, we could still be cool and friends, but romantically, my aspiration is to get married, and I wouldn't want that to be a clash. So let's not, right? So again, me and Alicia still cool. We would talk every now and then, but we kind of grew apart. Then guess who comes back in the picture? Monica, right? Spinning the block. And this is why I will not spin the block no more. I will not do it. So Monica spins the block and she hits me up and she's talking to me. And, during this time, I would still check up on her. She'll still check up on me. But I started to notice, a little bit of a change in Monica. She started to see the things that I called out. And God told me to tell her, like, that she was going to be a great wife and that she was going to be a great mother and she was going to be a great career woman. Like, she's going to be that Proverbs 21. Okay, cool. So she tells me that she gives her life to God and she's ready to like hone in on all of that. What I told her, and I'm like, yo, you really changed, you really matured, like, because some time did pass. So I said, okay. I thought about it and I said, what she did, we were really young, so let me give it another shot, right? So I did. And she stated to me, oh, she really wanted like a purity ring, right? She was like dropping hints, and I'm like, I'm not gonna buy you a purity ring, which I said to myself. I was just like, I get you some rain boots because I know you need some rain boots, but I ain't gonna get you no purity ring. Because in my mind, I was just like, forget all that. Like, the ring that I'm gonna get you would be an engagement ring, not a purity ring. That holds more weight, more clout, more value to me. Boom. So we're talking, everything is going well. I mean, I feel at the time like my life is about to take off. Everything that I work for, I'm hitting all my metrics and benchmarks and goals and standards and requirement on my timeline, right? Because I'm an A-type personality person. So I'm hitting everything, and my life is about to take off. I'm about to start my career, and I'm in a great relationship. I'm with the girl that I've pursued and been good friends with. But that first half of that year was stellar, right? But then I noticed the second half of that year, literally the second half of that year in June, there was a paradigm shift. And I just couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't know what was going on. It was just a shift. Everything was changing around me, right? And we met. She came home and, we talked, we chopped it up, went on dates, doing the whole thing, but something was different. And she went back to her town, right? So now we're in a long distance relationship. And I'm realizing, like, she talking, she whatever, July, everything goes fine, but there's a little bit of some distance. But I have to work and start my education journey as a educator myself, and that being a teacher, that first year is a lot. The build up, that anticipation, like the planning, all of that, it's a lot. So on the caveat of that, I was very active in church, very active in my family. I had an aunt at the time. My mom is adopted, so my adopted aunt at the time was sick, and I was really cool with her. And she had ovarian cancer, and literally the doctors were like, "Hey, there's nothing more that we could do for you." So that was really kind of tough, and I was there in the latter part of her days to see her literally fight and then yet still give up, right? However, I didn't express all of this to Monica, right? So she kind of knew what was going on, like pertaining to like the teaching, and but she didn't know like any drama that was going on with church really, or like family really, or I just kept it to myself because I was really just trying to support her and focus on her. One day, I will never forget it. I planned to see Monica for my birthday. I was gonna go and travel to her town to see her for my birthday, right? So 2 weeks before my birthday, I'm driving to work on the interstate, and I'm praying. That's my superpower. That's what I believe. My superpower is prayer. So I'm praying and I'm talking to God, and I'm, saying, "Hey, I really want this to, God, whatever your will is, I want her to be my wife, this, that, and the third." And one day, literally, I hear a voice in my car as I'm driving loud, like to the point where I'm checking my phone, checking my Bluetooth, looking around in the car, like who's beside me. And the voice of God literally said, "Break up with Monica." And I'm like, "Wait, what? Break up with Monica?" I'm like, "How? Why?" There has to be a reason for me to break up with Monica. I can't just call Monica and say, "Hey, Monica, I no longer want to be with you. I was told to break up with you." It didn't make any sense. Literally 2 to 3 days later, Monica FaceTimes me and says, "Dwayne, I need to speak to you." And this is 2 weeks before my birthday. And she says to me, "Dwayne, I slept with someone else." At that time, if the world crust mantle could open up and consume me straight to the earth's core, to make me just disintegrate into ashes and pieces of dust, that's what that feeling felt like. I just was so confused, bombarded, and shocked, because to me, I'm over here working, doing everything that I possibly can, and it had me shocked. I was shooketh. I couldn't understand why, what happened. So, I started to ask the who, what, when, where, how, and why. And she took accountability and she was honest and she told me. So I was just like, "Look, let me come and see you. We could work this out. We could work this out. Let me come up there and see you. Let's talk about it, right? In person. Because FaceTime over the phone, like, let's talk about it." And she was just like, "Okay, cool." So at this time, I have a colleague, and her name is Miss Brown. And Miss Brown and I, same age. I think she was like a year older than me. And what ended up happening is Miss Brown was born and raised in the town that Monica was in, right? So I'm at work, and we're first year teachers working alongside each other, and we're trying to figure this whole teaching thing out because our mentors suck. They basically told us, "Hey, we don't have any time for you. You guys got to figure this out on your own," which should never be the case, right? And we're learning that systematically there's some things that, or the position that we were put in, or choices that we had to make, we weren't really supposed to be in. So we were just trying to grasp this thing and try to get an understanding. And Miss Brown and I became really, really cool. So Miss Brown sees me one morning, because our duty was to stand at the front door. And as we're standing at the front door, we got to welcome the kids in. So I'm saying, good morning, good morning, good morning. Miss Brown opens her door, all chirpy, and she says, good morning, Mr. Robinson. How are you? It's a great day in the neighborhood, isn't it? And I said, yes, Miss Brown. Like, it is. It is a beautiful morning. Yes, it is. How are you? She's like, I'm well. How are you? I'm good, Miss Brown. Thank you for asking. And I proceed doing my thing. And she turns to me and she says, Mr. Robinson, may I have a word with you during your planning hour? I said, by all means. Why, certainly, Miss Brown, you could definitely have a word with me during my planning hour. And the planning hour came. Miss Brown is knocking on my door. Doo, 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 doo. I open the door. Miss Brown says, nah, nigga, what the hell is wrong with you? What is wrong with you, Mr. Robinson? You ain't looking like yourself. I know something is wrong. What's wrong with you? And at this point, I'm like, Miss Brown, I'm good, man. I promise you, I'm good. I'm, shifting my desk, getting ready to have lunch. And she was just like, okay, you could do this the easy way, Negro, or you could do this a hard way. I'm not stupid. I'm picking up on something. Tell me, Mr. Robinson, what is wrong with you? I said, I'm fine. The third time, she said, I'm going to ask you one more time. What's wrong with you? So I dropped my head down and I said, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for She Cheated Part 2.